Hey, good morning or afternoon or evening if you're listening to this. My name is Chase Cunningham or Dr. Cunningham or Dr. Zero Trust, whatever. Let's get into important stuff. I'm here with Vidit from Quiller AI. We're going to talk about interesting stuff in this space. Go ahead and give folks an intro on kind of who you are and what you do.
Oh, sure. Chase, thanks for having me here. As Chase mentioned, I'm Vidit. I'm the founder and CEO of Quiller AI. We are focused on helping companies securely transform with AI, right? As we can all understand, with AI coming into the picture, it's completely changing the way we operate, right? It's changing the way we interact with data. It changes the way we do our work. It started off being a very, very straightforward, like a chat GPT interaction world. But now what we are seeing is how it is fully transforming companies' infrastructure. So we are a company that helps with end-to-end AI and data security, and like I said, helping companies, adopt AI in a very, very secure way. So yeah.
So adopting AI in a secure way that's an uphill battle because I mean there's so many folks that are running and just downloading and configuring and doing AI stuff all the time. I think this weekend I messed around with that new like video song thing they've got out there, Deep Sea or whatever it is, or Sea Dance or something. It was pretty cool, but definitely lots of things going on there that I could see problematic. When we're thinking about agents and AI and agentic,
Yep.
how should people really think about this? Because those things used to be like programs or applications or whatever. Now they're users, they're things
Yep.
within the system, right?
Yep. I think that's the like what you said, right, is the biggest change, right? Till now, this was a world that was built for humans. Right? Humans are the only one that operated it, right? Humans are the only one who made decisions, who took actions. If you think about where we are going right now, you have AI agents, and we're talking about them as if you're talking about nothing more than just like service accounts, but they're not really accounts. They're actually people. We're handing off the power for them to make decisions, to take actions, to update things, to actually have material impact. And the way they are entering our world is very interesting, right? It's not just about a company or an enterprise going and using some agent for some automation. The world of agents is coming to us across in every sphere, right? You have people, like you just mentioned, you have people just getting agents on the laptop and giving them full access to all their files, right? Think about CloudWork, think about OpenClaw. You have people who are using it to connect all their company systems. So I think the world of agentics is already here, and we've gone very quickly from AI that used to assist to AI that is now acting and taking ownership, right? And I don't think that's a world that we were, forget about, we don't even have visibility into it. Forget about, how to protect it, right? Every day we're having conversations with customers on, oh, I just give CloudWork access to my laptop, and how do you protect this, and how do I see if people have just started using something on their on or something, have just put a bunch of agents on their machine. So I think it is changing how we thought about our environment, how we thought about our architecture. It is changing. If you think about even something as basic as an endpoint, right? An EDR. An EDR was built to figure out, if there's a malware or not, right? And years and years have been spent in mastering to figure out, oh, if this is a legit PowerShell or not. Think about now. You have an agent on your machine that's operating. How do you distinguish whether it's an agent that is doing it or a malware that's operating? How do you distinguish between there's an agent that's acting, or does that agent been given a malicious prompt and it is now acting on somebody else's behalf? The semantics of it all has completely, have completely revolutionized, and almost like it's created, I feel like it's like a 10-year gap between where we are and where it has reached for us to very quickly cover. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's Moore's law has been blown clean out of the water. We're no longer there. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of the other sorts of approaches, but there's some that are saying like, well, we're aging in dog years while everything else is aging in, machine time.
Full time, yes.
And I mean that's kind of where I see it. You guys had an interesting piece on your site that I thought was very interesting is DLP and CASB govern data, but they don't really know what an agent is contextually and they don't understand, how that's working. And there is an intent there. So can you expand on kind of how y'all look at that particular problem? Because I hadn't necessarily thought about a agent having intent.
Yeah, right. See, till now, when you think about a DLP or a CASB, right, what did they do, right? You defined a set of rules to say if there's PII, then block it. If there is PCI, PHI, then block the data. So they were built to basically figure out, based on a few patterns, if the data is sensitive, not sensitive, and take an action that you defined, right? Now, if you think about what's happening with agents, there's an AI agent that is going and opening a Jira ticket. Think about the steps that would happen. That AI agent, let's say, it's sitting in, I don't know, Cloud Code or Chat GPT or wherever. Firstly, it's not even happening in your network. It's not even a user going into Jira and putting in something. So before we discuss everything else, everything became irrelevant. Your DLP doesn't even know that data just got put in. Your CASB, your firewall, your SASE, nothing can see that action because that action didn't happen in your environment. That action happened between Anthropic and Jira, and just that a user in your company allowed an agent to act on their behalf, right? That allowing the user to act on their behalf, number one, is of course completely unknown to any kind of a DLP or a CASB or any of these products. Secondly, when that action is happening, when their agents come into play, there is no way for the current products to be able to differentiate between this is a human action or an agent action. Third thing that comes into play is that, let's say, you are the user, go in and what you just said, you go and you use some kind of an agent to say, go and create this video for me based on, this and this and this data, right? And now this is the input you gave it. Now that agent, what is it doing, right? That agent is not taking what you are saying. That agent is thinking by its own self. It's not following your instructions, right? It's thinking by its own self. It's making a decision to say, okay, Chase wants me to do this. What do I understand based on that? Right? Based on your input, it's going to make a decision to say, okay, I think to achieve what he wants, I'm going to do these 5 things. Right? It's like, I don't know, you telling your wife, can you make for dinner? Dinner could be anything, right? It could be whatever she feels
Could
like.
be, yeah, it could be pizza, it could be rice, it could, yeah.
Right. The world that we lived in till now was there was a menu, you picked an item, exactly this is what it is, and it's gonna get built. Now it's as good as saying make me dinner. And that could be anything. So we've handed off the decision making power to somebody else. Right. So when that agent is making a decision, if the systems that are using to decide whether to allow that agent from doing that action or not, if they don't understand the full context of, okay, why is the agent doing it? Who asked it? Right? What is it trying to do? Right? Okay, it's trying to open a ticket. Okay, or it's trying to delete something. Why is it deleting it? Who asked it to delete it? What will be the impact of this agent going and deleting this? Unless all these things get looked at, there's nothing we can do about it. Our only option otherwise would be to block everything that looks like, an update, a delete, right? And then we are back to the world where we started from. Then, what are we doing, right? What is the point of autonomy if you're going to get a human in the loop for every action, right? Or you're going to allow everything and no visibility. So I think that's the interesting thing, right? It's not just now it's just not about protecting a PII from moving. It's about understanding the full action of it, understanding what agent is acting on whose behalf, why is it doing it, right? Is this the right thing to do? What will be the impact that this is going to have? And that could be a sensitive data movement, or that could be updating a firewall rule, or that could be ordering dinner. Doesn't matter. But unless you understand what what it is, if your wife is cooking dinner, unless we understand, okay, this is typically what Chase likes, he's a vegetarian, this and this and this, you can't really say, okay, cool, this is what I can have this for dinner. So I
Yeah.
think it goes back to the same point, right? You're going into this relationship with another person now. These are agents, and unless we understand them, there's no way we can coexist, in this new ecosystem.
Yeah, and it's one thing when you have one cook making dinner, it's
Yeah,
another when you walk in and there's 10,000 of them and you go, "Make me dinner."
everybody can do whatever.
It's like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And all of them are built by different people, different companies. They have access to different data, different depth. So yeah, it's changed. I like to give this analogy a lot. This is from a while ago, and nothing to do with us actually, but bunch some when this whole thing was starting, right? This whole Echo leak came out from, when the whole Microsoft Copilot vulnerability came out, and that was the best example that you could have seen of how what the world is going to look like in a few years. Right? Till date, we have always trained our entire security programs were built on the fact that you train people, right? Don't click on phishing emails. Don't reply to this. Don't do this. Don't do that. And here an email comes and the user is sleeping and Copilot reads the email and responds back on the user's behalf,
Yeah.
right? Our entire fundamental of security just went out of the window. The
Mhm.
user didn't have to click. The user didn't have to reply. The user doesn't even know this has happened while he was sleeping, and it's all over. Right. So the core fundamentals are changing. Right. We cannot rely on something that was built 30 years ago to protect something that's not even actually 100% built yet. Every day, some new open claw, new skills, a new thing comes out that is just unimaginable from where we started. So yeah.
Yeah, the speed and the innovation side is going through the roof. It's I mean it just boggles the mind. I'm working on some analysis right now of looking at like technology as it improved over time, and the gap is just getting so small. I mean, it's almost like inverse. I mean, you can think of something and come
It's
up with
always
it now.
it's changed a lot, right? And especially like this latest, like the last few weeks, even this whole thing on skills and personal agents and everything coming up. That's a huge leap. Like,
Mm,
forget if you keep the security part aside, it's from a technology and productivity perspective. It's a big shift. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
uh,
it's societal in nature.
yeah, silent nature. The fact that people can just, put something on the machine and let it control their entire system. And from a normal user standpoint, it's brilliant, right? It organizes my files, it replies to my emails, it cleans up everything for me. And so, but if you just think about it from our lens of a security perspective, you almost have basically put a malware on the machine and said, okay, cool, you
Yeah, like
have control of it. Just
you're approved malware.
small, you're a good guy. So it's now how do you protect that will be very interesting. And I don't think anybody has the full answers to it. I think it's all going to happen.
Yeah, but I think the point you're making about context and understanding and being able to do something is very different than a lot of folks that are just going like, whatever, we're just going to roll this thing out and see what happens and get to it. But I mean, it's agent on agent kind of warfare, right? I mean, you come up with a new way of doing whatever, quicker, better, faster, cool. I come up with a way of trying to stay ahead of it.
Yeah. And I think that's why, right, you're seeing a lot of even other, your other analyst counterparts. I'm seeing this new kind of thing come out, which we've been saying for a while. This whole concept of, as the agents expand in number, in reach, in presence, right? This whole concept of guardian agents will have to, come along with it,
Mm,
where we'll have to be able to build systems that are able to understand in line the content, context, and intent of what these agents are doing, and make a decision whether to allow it, redact the data, take an action, or get an approval, or stop the agent, right? And there's no dynamic, there's static way of doing, right? One agent has to reason over the other agent's action and make a decision. Right.
yeah.
So I think it'll be a very interesting symbiotic relationship that's going to start getting built between the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it mind-boggling. So I think there was another point that you guys made that was very interesting is there's a window, kinda like you said a minute ago, between an action that's initiated and an action actually being completed. Y'all said that, like, do you think that that's kind of what the security paradigm looks like there? I think that that's really interesting. Expand just a little bit for people to understand what we mean by that.
Yeah, I think, see, till now, if you think about it, right, we have, just take a simple example, right? Think about DLP for a minute. Right now, if you ask somebody, okay, what do you have for DLP, right? They'll tell you 6 different products, right? This is for email, this is for web, this is for this part, this is for this part of web. And the reason is that so basically what that means is all systems are working in silo from each other, right? They all do their thing, whatever data they have, and then they feed in all this data back to a SIM or whatever, right? So most of the things we do in security today is reactive, right? Either it's reactive or it's point in time disruptive where you block it. Now, if you think about with this whole the world of AI, right, we are going towards more of an irreversible track. So if we be disruptive, then basically that means we can't adopt AI, right? Because you're going to start blocking it everywhere and it'll become useless, right? So now you want to adopt it, right? Because the cost of missing out is very high. You want to adopt it. So you need to create an ecosystem, number one, where they can survive, where they can live, they can do that, they can be autonomous in nature, right? Like it's almost saying we need to have roads good enough for self-driving cars, right? Now, but it's almost the same thing as the analogy of you stopping a self-driving car before it crashes and taking control of the wheel, right? The If I am a user, like I'll give a simple example. I am a user, I open an application, right? It could be any application, ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, whatever. And I go and tell it that I'll be just use an example that happened a few weeks ago. I go and say, delete my cache, right? That that's what I want it to do, right? That's my intent. It's going to take my intent, and based on my intent, the way these AI systems work is that it's going to come up with a set of tools and instructions. right? To say, okay, so you want me to delete cache. This is my understanding of what it means. So here's what I want to do. And here are the tools I want to use, right? Here is the stuff I want to use. And then it passes on its understanding in the form of instructions and tools to an agent to say, agent is nothing but a worker bee, right? Go do this work for me, right? So now let's say the model took my input of saying delete cache, and it actually, instead of deleting cache, it, what happened recently, it decided to delete D drive. So if you think about it, if we sit in the world today, let's say everything, it happens. I input it, it deletes D drive, you get an log created out of it, you have it in your sim, and now you're sitting and looking at it. Our problem with today's world is the damage would already be done. And it's a one-sided damage. So the only way for us to protect this from happening, if you think about it, is number one, be able to capture the input that is going in to the model, that, oh, the user's intent is to delete cache. Look at what the model is what the agent is trying to do, which is run these set of commands to delete D drive. Look at both of them together, reason against them to see, okay, do these instructions align? The user saying delete cache, the model saying delete D drive, do they add up, right? Are they sitting in the same context of what needs to be done? And based on that reasoning, make a decision whether you want to allow it, block it, stop it, get approval. What do you want to do? If you think what I just said, number one, if you can't tie together these control planes, because the way to look at it is this interaction will get captured through some firewall, or sorry, some browser extension or some endpoint agent or maybe some proxy. This interaction of the model going and doing something to the agent will get captured through something like an MCP gateway or an MCP server. If you can't combine both of these to say, okay, this is what the user input, this is what the instructions from the mod agent were, and before this action happened, to what you just said, between the input and the action, if we can't make a decision to say, okay, I'm going to allow this and I'm going to do this, then either it's already too late or you're going to block everything.
Hmm.
Now our only span of control, security needs to move to is towards preventative, where it needs to do inline reasoning. It needs to do inline decision making to say, okay, I'm deciding that I'm going to allow it. Right? It can't just apply those 5 static rules to say if it's PII, I'm going to block it. If it's an update statement, I'm going to block it because it's going to be very disruptive. So that's the only operating space it has to decide what it wants to do. Right? And I think that's the big shift, right? Like the way I like to explain it is it's almost like, in enterprises very soon, you're going to have to start seeing like this new decision layer, like a new layer of security, which automatically is going to have to cover DLP, but much beyond that. It has to use the capabilities of detecting sensitive data, but in the bigger context of making a decision, then to, what action to take. That's at least with the way I see it going.
Yeah, I mean, there's the side of it where it feels like you can't keep up, but I mean, in truth, these systems are, and most people don't really look too deeply into how these decisions, quote, are being made. I think something maybe you can expand on this too, is a bit, is people should understand these AI systems. Number one, none of them are AI; they're all machine learning and
Yep.
marketed as. But the thing about them is they're down selecting when they have something to make a decision on. They're not sort of sitting there and inferring based on what they think you might want. They're looking at everything that you could, and then they're working their way down to make that decision to go this. And that sounds like intelligent, but honestly, that's kind of a fatal flaw from a security perspective, right?
Yep. It's already because they're just selecting from a list of options, right? But it's not really decision making, right? It's not. That's basically where you're saying you can go into one of these 3 areas and you pick one, right? Whereas now these are completely unbounded, undeterministic systems, right? We have built everything today for deterministic systems, right? We know that if same thing happens 10 times, the result will always be the same, right? Now if you give the same input to an AI model 10 times, it will give you a different output every time. Just so simple, hi, how are you? It will give you a different output every time. So we are dealing with completely undeterministic system. So for the exact same routine also, you cannot have a static guardrail. You cannot say every time a person writes this or you did this, you block it, right? Because it's all free form. It's all free flowing. So you're absolutely right. There's no way that you can have a bounded set of features or a bounded set of options to choose from because the inputs are not controlled anymore, right? It's free for all. So I think that changes. a lot.
I mean, is inventory probably the most important thing here of having an inventory of all those agents, or is it just discovery? Like which one's more critical? Or are they both the same?
I think they're both the same and different risk surface areas, right? When you say inventory, usually people think of is that, okay, what agents are running in my cloud, right? What agents I have built in my Azure AWS, my GitHub. And when you say discovery, usually people relate it to me discovering what agents are you using in your browser or on your laptop, or, shadow agents on, stuff like that. But in the end, they both come down to the same thing. And the prime reason for it being that these days building an agent is also as equally easy as going and, using one in the browser, right? So it's not, it doesn't require any lot of special skills, right? So that's why you're seeing even more and more of these agents pop up, because everybody can build it, everybody can use it. But I think you are right about one thing. The first and the most important thing is actually knowing what is there in your end, right? It's knowing that, okay, this set of agents are going and communicate are being used in my environment, right? This is apps where agents are enabled. These are apps that are actually using agents to communicate, right? These are the MCP servers that are getting used, right? The good thing, at least, that I feel that has happened is there is one single protocol, at least today, right? An MCP that was there to control it, right? Now with this local personal agents coming up, that's also changed. The personal agents don't even need an MCP server to operate on, right? They can just operate locally on the machine. They don't even need to go through an MCP. So I think the first and the biggest thing is having visibility on what does that footprint look like. Whether it's what agents are running in the cloud or in the machine or on your cloud or in the on public, what MCP servers are getting used, what skills are getting used, what tools are getting used within it, what resources are getting access from it, which user is invoking these agents, right? Becoming identity aware has become even more important now, right? To know that, okay, which if this is an admin invoking an agent or an L1 guy invoking the agent, and then what permissions have been given to the agent, right? We've literally seen instances where the agent has more permission than the user who's invoking the agent, right? Because suddenly the agent has no authentication, so they're basically just going and it's free for all for them. The user is typing anything they want, thinking, oh, it can do what I can do. But the agent has access to somebody's entire infrastructure, entire Jira, entire Azure. I think visibility is important, but it's not just about visibility, knowing these are the agents. It's about knowing the entire ecosystem, right? It's about these agents, these MCP servers, these skills, these tools, these resources, this access, this user identity. Unless we know that, there's nothing we can really do to, protect anything. So I think that's definitely step one. And then comes the other steps of actually protecting it or controlling the access, controlling the tools and all.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be 0 days were like the thing, right? Everybody was freaked out about a 0 day, whatever, even though that not necessarily all 0 days are the same. But now, like to me, 0 hour is kind of the most interesting, terrifying thing is like when someone creates an agent or does whatever the hell they do,
What does it
you're
look?
yeah, and how fast can you figure that out?
And we are seeing some very, very interesting use cases, Kamal. Like, we are working with a couple of very good financial institutions. And this is a very interesting case that came out where they've built this whole MCP application. If you think about it, right, we've put Zscaler and all of these products, right, to protect zero trust, to apply zero trust, and to control who can access what applications, based on their role and all of that. Right? Now, all of a sudden, so your entire network is controlled, right? All of a sudden, think about it, somebody goes into an application and turns on the agentic web search to go scan the internet through an AI agent. All of a sudden, that agent can go and search the internet for any website. All your Zscaler and all these controls all of a sudden have fallen, because that agent is not even going through your Zscaler. It can't go through your Zscaler, right? Because Zscaler will not even know, or any of these products, like they won't even know that which agent is invoking that particular thing, right? So it's created these new gaps, right, that are there. So we have to almost rethink that, okay, now so we actually worked with this customer to figure out how to apply the same all the policies that they've built for so many years from a zero trust perspective onto the agents. So even doesn't matter if any new agent spins up, to your point, or anybody starts coming and doing any MCP web searches or anything, by default, all their existing zero trust controls should get applied to that, and they shouldn't have to, redo it or think about it again, right? It's a core different way of looking at it. And it took a minute for us to realize They're like, oh yeah, we're ready to go. And he said, do you mind going here and running netflix.com? And all of a sudden Netflix opened up and they went to the browser and it's locked down. And that is when everybody realized, oh, hold on, where's this traffic going from? Like, why is it not here? And then like, the realization happened that all this went aside. Because once you introduce this, nobody's actually going to go to Google and do web search because it's over. So
That's, yeah,
now,
why bother? That's another step,
yeah, it's done. So the minute you do that, now you've made all your controls also just sit there ideal. You made the browser completely redundant, and everything is happening through this one place, which is just created like its own little route through the internet that you have no control over. So I think it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, the next 5 years, I mean, up to 2030, are going to be Katie bar the door, I think, on where this goes and how fast it gets there. So I always like to kind of leave people with a couple thoughts on what they shouldn't do. And from your perspective in this space, if you were talking to a client or customer, like what would you say don't do in relation to AI agents and those types of things?
I think I would say um, my take would be don't do two things, right? I think one is don't try to take an approach of that you block everything because I think we are way beyond that, right? I think the cost of missing out is very high, and if we couldn't stop people going to the internet when it was helpful, just imagine how we're going to solve people from doing the work, somebody else doing the work for them, right? Humans are supposed to be lazy by nature, so I think blocking is not the approach, right? And the second thought I would like to leave it is that I think we have to follow the same core principles we followed for for so many years, right? Which is get visibility, right? Figure out applying the basic controls that you need and then go towards all the advanced controls. But don't try to solve this age problem with a 20, 30-year-old solution because it doesn't add up, right? This is not a small little change in how something works. It's fundamentally different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Trying to solve a 2026 problem with a 2006 application probably isn't the best way to do it.
Better than that in a lot of cases, but yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was 2006 for plenty of these folks. Okay, so Vidit, where can people find you? Where's the site and all the cool stuff that you guys are doing?
Yeah, for sure. So our site is quiller.ai. That's where you can find us. We're also coming out, I think tomorrow is the day, we're officially also coming out with a mechanism for every organization for an unlimited period of time, get complete AI visibility in their environment, right? And I don't mean like just tell you these somebody is using chat GPT, but get you full visibility to the point of every agent that's getting used, every MCP server, what calls are getting made, even to the point if somebody's using Notion, the fact that Notion is sending data to a GPT-4o in the back. So get you real visibility into, what your AI footprint looks like. So we are coming up, I think, with killer.ai/discovery is the URL for it, and it'll be live starting. It'll be live. It's already live actually, and feel free to go try it out, use it. See what you have. Right, I think that'll get you the best, the best view into what we're talking about here.
That's awesome. Yeah. So especially if it's out there and it's free, I'm gonna go get my hands into that and mess around with it because I just love seeing the results populate. So well, thanks for coming on here. I definitely, you piqued a couple of things in my brain that I hadn't really considered, and that's all I'm ever trying to get out of these is just another, hey, that's a problem we should solve. So thanks for that, man. Folks, if you're out there and you have this issue or you think you have this issue, I'll tell you, you have this issue. You should reach out to the folks at Quiller and Vidit and the folks over on his team. So there we go. Real problems, real solving those problems with companies that know what they're doing.
Thanks, Chase.